I can go to landscape. In the selection mode, I have different selection modes. I can go to landscape. And here, there is a bunch of settings I can use. I can make this one number of components bigger, which means my environment will be larger. I also have the section size. If I make it really small, each quad will be super small, right? It's like tiny. As I make the quads bigger, obviously your environment gets bigger too. So I can just go for the defaults. You don't really want to make a super big world. I can make a 2x2 where I can have multiple grids inside the quads. Like, just, it will make it just much bigger, right? I don't need to do anything else, but just keep in mind, I will use landmass. So if you go to edit, go to plugins, landmass, you will see that I have this on. Just click on it and you can restart the editor. I also have the water plugin, the water and the water extras. You can just click the water. You don't need the water extras. Just click on water and you should be good to go. And that's pretty much it. When you restart, you will have something like I do. You can edit layers. Let's create. And it will just create your landscape. How can you achieve good performance with nav mesh if you have a huge map? Calculate the nav mesh dynamically with the player. I'm not a programmer. I know how to program a little bit, but if Ram is here, I will let him know about that question and he can answer you. My thought will be just put the nav mesh in places where you have the gameplay. Do not put it everywhere. So that's where I will go for. But if you want to do it dynamically and all this stuff, I don't think I can answer that question for you. But I will let Ram know because we also have a programmer here. Don't worry. Okay. So first things first, you have layers in the left. The layers will allow you to, just like Photoshop, you can have different layers where you can paint and add different things. You can do the same here. For example, I can just sculpt here. I can just click like this and I can remove the layer intensity. If I go 0, it's like nothing happened. And I can even go -1. I will go negative here. I will just leave it on 1. Tools that I typically use are the sculpt tool and the flatten tool will flatten everything. So if I go here, I will flatten this out. Very good for level design where you want the flat terrain and you want to put houses or anything like that. That's great. Or if you want to erase things, you can also use the flat tool just like this to make everything flat. Awesome. Then you have the ramp. You can just click on the ramp, click on 2 surfaces, and you can move the other surface where you want your ramp to be. You can press enter and you will have a ramp. And you can go back to the flatten tool and just go do something like this. If you want to smooth this area, you can just click on smooth and smooth this area. just a little bit. Something like that. Okay. That's pretty much it. You can go and add other things. You can add like patterns. Like for example, I can sculpt like this, sculpting like with patterns. I can put any texture actually if I want it. So for example, I have some megascans here. I will show you this thing just in a while. This is a content browser. I can use Control Space, and I will have some folders. I can just go to my surfaces, like for example this one, and I can just go here and put it this, and I can just go for the blue channel. Now I can, let me just put the tool strength to something like this. And you will see that I'm sculpting based on the alpha texture that I have, which it has a lot of noise. You can also change the texture to green or red. It will give me different results, right? So I can just right click, clear, sculpt. Yes, it will clear all the data. So what I want to show you is this landmass plugin where you can just sculpt your terrain and using procedural tools, which a lot of people like. So before doing that, let's add some water. Remember I told you you can go to plugin and add water? We can do the same here. We can go here to the place and type water. And you will have a lot of volumes here. I want the water ocean, so I can just drag and drop this. And wait for the shaders to compile. Okay, so here I have my ocean now. By default, it has those colors. So you see that my landscape, it's now small. You can see this was my landscape. It's not that we lost our landscape, it's just that the ocean works with splines. If you click on one of these splines, if you don't see it, press G. Like this is like you're in game mode. Press G again to get out of game mode. Make sure you press Alt 3 or Alt 4. Make sure you click on the, where is it? There you go. Click on the spline and click on one of those splines, and you can just move it like this. If you go like this, you will see that you have the same as you had before, where your landscape is like that. Typically, you don't want that, so let's just go for something like this. And of course, you can right click and add a spline here if you want. And just go and have any shape you want. Okay. Now, all this, and I will just save this because just in case, let's call a new folder called livestream. Livestream level. Okay, I can just go ahead and change this just like that. Okay, so what you have here is in your landscape, you also have a layer with water. So if I sculpt here, you will see that I cannot sculpt in the boundaries of this. Basically, this is my shoreline generated automatically with the landscape. So if I want to sculpt on top of this, I can just create a new layer and I can sculpt here. We just go back to the same tools we have, just like this. And I can just sculpt here if I want it. Okay. So I will just flatten this. Okay. And there you go. So that depends on what you want to do. Normally, you want to sculpt under the water so that your sculpt it's modified by the water, just like this, right? So if you go to the water body ocean, you will see that you have some, some properties here you can play with. Okay, like the curve settings, like how you want your curve. For example, I can just double click on this, and let's say I want to add a key here. I can just put something like this, and you will see that I no longer have the smooth fall off. So I can just play with the fall off. I can just delete this key and you will have, your smooth transition from the shallow water to the deep water, right? That's something you can do if you want. And also, let's try to find a way to play our game. So let's save it. If we play here, you will see that I can fly. And that's not necessarily what you want. So what I will do is to import a character. It's very easy. I can just control space. I will open my content browser. You can also go to Window and go Content Browser. Click on this. And I will show you all this thing in a minute if you don't know. I know it's very basic, but some of you may know about it. So I will just go quickly over the content browser. It's just a folder structure where you can organize all the assets that you will use in your projects. That's pretty much it. Okay. So if I control space, I can have the floating window of the content browser here, which is very comfortable. So I can go to Add and go to Feature or Content Pack. Then I can go for a third person mode. Add to project. And it will come with all the necessary assets for my character. It will come with the character. It will come with the game mode, with the enhanced input. So now if I play the game, nothing happens. And that is because I haven't told the game that we need to use this character. So it's very easy. We just go to the world settings and go to game override, and I can just go for the third person game mode. Now when I play, you will see that I have my character here. I can just go here. I can go over the thing that I sculpt. And I believe there was a bug where you cannot go underwater. So I can just walk like Jesus. And that's not normal. It shouldn't be like that. There was an error with the volumes of the water. And I'm not sure if I can fix this, but I can try. I can go to the collision presets, and it shouldn't be, it can be like, I don't know, overlap. And let's see if that helps. Okay, that helps. I can go under the water now. So let's play from here. You notice that I play where my camera is. I will spawn like a Fortnite or Call of Duty, like fall from the sky. That's usually not what you want. So there you go. Once you see that once you are inside the water, you have like a volume here, kind of like to simulate how it looks underwater. So if we want to start our game, we can go to the green plus icon, go to basic, and put a player start. Now by default, the arrow will point at here. If you play, your character will start at the ocean, and that's okay. But I want it to look like this. I can move it up, press End, and by pressing End, I can snap the objects into the ground. That's something we will do a lot. So let's go back. It's our layer 1. Let's just clear the sculpt here. Okay, so I want to add some mountains or something. So instead of sculpting like this, I can just go on and add some blueprints. So if I go here to blueprint, I can select the blueprint brush, and I can just select the custom brush landmass, and nothing happens. That's because I need to click here. And once I click it, you will see that the shaders are compiling. If you don't see anything, don't panic. There you go. So now my shaders are like this. I can just move things around. And basically I have like a pyramid, right? Now, there is a bunch of things I can do with this. So what I can do is to play with the settings. First, you have the basic ones. It's like you can invert the shape. Like you will have very weird results. You can go for the alpha blend, like minimum, maximum, or additive. Alpha blend works most of the cases. You can cap the shape, and with that, it doesn't look like, but I have pretty much cap the shape. I don't have any pointy shape, or I can just change the fall off. For example, 30 or 35 or 40. If I go 90, it will be like 90 degrees, which it may or may not be something you want. The material, you don't really need to play with anything of that. I can go to static mesh, not really. Spline mesh, paint layers. Let's just go for the effects. First is the blur. So you can see it's very sharp. And if I press like 100, that's a lot, right? So I can just put like a 3 and it will smooth everything out. I can go to the curl noise and change the curve size like this, and the strength like this. Just play with those two values. Just don't be too extreme, like put like 5, otherwise you will get results like this. Okay, what else we can do? We could change the curves, but we're not touching that. Displacement can be very important. So we can go for example, let's put a high value like 248, and you will see that I'm using this tiling noise, right? I can move this up. Okay. And I can also change the noise. Remember, we had some noises here. For example, I can use my rock cliff. And I can use the channel, the blue channel. And I will use that cliff. I can also go for this one. And I will just have different results. And of course, with a bigger resolution, you could like make things a little bit better. You can change the tiling of this. And this will basically give you a lot of flexibility, because if you move the spline, you will also move the noise with you. Just like that. and just go for something like this. And then you can add the spline point here. Or you can delete the spline point if you don't like it. If you want to move everything, just make sure to go to the outliner and you can click on the landmass. Again, you can just put it here. You can leave it like that. Or if you want, you can scale it. And you will have something like this. Now, the good thing about this is that I can just alt click, and with alt, I will duplicate an object, and I will have something like this. And I can make this one bigger. And I can add another spline point here if I want. And that's pretty much what you can do with this. Other things, smooth blending, like the inner, you can put 2000 or 2000 in the outer. You will see that it smooths out very nicely. 2000 is for the app. You don't really need it for now. You can do the same here. You can put 2000. And you will have a much better result with this. Okay. So what else you can do? You can put some splines here. So if I go to water, I can go to the river, and I can just drag a river here. And you will see that my river is like this. I can see the direction of the river because last time told me it was in the wrong direction. So this is going this way. So let's just put it all the way here. And you can see, like, it's kind of blending, but it can do a better job. So if you want, you can go put the water on top, and it will, if you put the water on top, it will adjust everything that you have sculpted, which is typically what you want, really. You can move this thing down. Let's move this spline. And it will affect the environment. Okay, I can just put a river across the whole environment. I can just alt click. Something like that. And I can just put a lake. So I can just go to the green plus icon, put on water, and just put a lake here. And just by doing that, I will have my lake just like this. Now I can change this. I can add spline. There is also an option to add some noise into this. So if I go to water, not to water, let's see. It should be on the landmass. We'll have a quick look. And type noise. Yeah, you have the core noise just as the mountain. So you can type 5. That's too much. You can play with something like that. And you can do the same with the river. You can type river here. And you can change the core noise to 0.3. Something like that. That's very nice. If you put the noise, it's much more natural. So I highly encourage you to do that. Let's play with a file 2. Not much difference. If you put 1, that's too much. So let's put 3. Let's put 3 here. Should be good enough. So let's try and play our game. We are too far from our river, so let's go to the player start, click here, and now we can just move it. Something like that. Let's just play. And now I have the same issue with the volume. I notice that this thing it's like floating. I can fix this very easily. I can either put this one here, this one down. There, for some reason it doesn't go down. I can just create a new one, and I can just sculpt here, just like that. I can smooth things out. And just like that, I can just fix this part. I want to sculpt. Let me just go to the brush size very low. And I can just go and do something like that. If you want it. Yeah, it looks okay. So if I go to my river, I can do the same for the collision because it was very weird. It used to work pretty nice before. Yeah. Let's go to overlap. And then go to my lake. And go to overlap. And that's it. You can just play here. Make sure our player start it's on the top. Now we can play. Now we have our river here. It's great. I don't know why our post-processing is not working well. It's always something you can put by yourself, but it will be nice if it worked out of